The film opens with a little girl named Aber drawing on a school bus. A boy sitting next to her, a friend who also bullies her, snatches the drawing from her, but is horrified. The teacher then calls Aber's father to school so he can see his son's drawing. The father is shocked, as the drawing depicts a monster stabbing a man. Later, the school counselor calls Aber to discuss her emotions and feelings. Amber explains, "I drew this drawing thinking of my friend who snatched the drawing from me on the bus, because even though he's my friend now, he's always teasing me." The counselor responds that it's normal to have such dark feelings, and it's better to express them in the form of a drawing than to actually do something like that. The counselor then lets her go, but Aber leaves her strange notebook behind. That afternoon, Aber's brother, Jack, is walking in the woods. He suddenly stumbles and drops his mobile phone into a pond. Jack manages to get up and retrieves it, but the screen is shattered. He decides to go back. But moments later, he finds it completely repaired, much to his surprise. Later that evening, the family is enjoying pizza together. Meanwhile, we learn that their mother has passed away. Jack is teasing his sister, Aber, who breaks Jack's plate. This angers Jack, and he leaves. Later that night, Aber is drawing with great interest in her new notebook. The next morning, while boarding the bus, she remembers she left it in her room. She calls her dad and says, "Dad, my notebook is in the room, so please bring it." But he says, "Leave it today, son, and get it tomorrow." Aber agrees, but makes him promise not to look at the notebook. Inside the house, Dad sees what Aber has drawn in his notebook. Just then, his sister, Aber's aunt, arrives, and her sudden arrival frightens Dad. They discuss selling the house, but Aunt knows Aber's dad isn't sure. She tells him to stay outside whenever buyers come to see the house, and to keep quiet if he encounters them. Dad is in the car, still thinking about the notebook, but he puts it aside. A moment later, he accidentally spills coffee. He quickly cleans it up and runs back inside. His sister is shocked to see him upset. Dad finds a dryer among his dead wife's belongings. While looking through them, Dad comes across his wife's ashes and bones, which are kept in a special container after a person dies. Then, while drying his notebook, it accidentally falls down, and this time, he sees all her drawings and sketches. Amber returns home. Having created another problem at school, she had drawn tentacles on her hands. Dad sternly orders her to give away all her drawing materials. Amber, realizing that Dad has seen all her drawings and sketches, throws away the paint and locks herself in her room in anger. Meanwhile, Jack finds a broken plate in the dustbin and runs off into the woods. Dad then goes to check on Amber, where she has drawn strange insects on the wall, stealing her things like her mobile phone, coffee mug, and even body parts. A little while later, Dad is outside the house with Amber because his sister is busy with Bayer. Dad tells Amber, "You used to draw beautiful things." Amber replies, "But you always throw them away." Hearing this, Dad immediately goes inside the house and comes out with a box containing all the drawings Amber ever made for her father. Amber understands this and shows Dad her new creepy drawing, which frightens her a little. But then he takes out one of her old drawings and pastes it into the notebook, saying that you should keep the good things with the bad things. Amber then makes it even creepier and weirder, drawing a large blue monster. He says, "I've made many more monsters like this, creatures called idols." Meanwhile, Jack returns home, and the broken plate he took to the pond in the woods has been repaired. Then a strange thought comes to his mind: take his mother's ashes to the pond. Amber sees him leaving and follows him with the notebook. Suddenly, she scares Jack and tries to snatch the box, causing the notebook to fall into the pond. Jack removes it with a stick, but the water makes strange noises. They both run in panic, and Aber shows Jack that all the drawings in the notebook have been erased. Just then, they hear a growl coming from the forest. Jack tells Aber, "Please don't tell Dad anything about this," and runs away. In the morning, a shopkeeper comes into her shop and finds all the drawing books and paints scattered around. Her coworker, who was there, calls the police. But then something strange comes from behind. The female shopkeeper flees, and when the boy sees it, he also runs away in fear. It was actually a creature that picks up a hoodie lying on the table and puts it on. Dad tries to wake Jack, but he's already awake and a little nervous. Then, Dad realizes that Aber has been sleeping inside the closet. Aber explains that someone kept tapping on the window all night. When Dad checks, he finds yellowish objects stuck to the glass. Dad thinks a bird must have done something and ignores it. Jack then tells Aber, "I'll tell you everything, but you just have to be quiet." Dad overhears this. When the bus arrives, Dad stops Jack and says, "You can always tell me if anything's bothering you, son." Jack then tells him about the pond, saying that anything that goes into it comes alive. Ember's sketchbook also fell into it. That's why all the things in her drawings, including creatures, monsters, and everything else in it, have come alive. Dad gets irritated, but Jack explains the story about the plate. Still, Dad doesn't believe it and tells him to go on the bus. While cleaning the window, Dad hears some strange noises coming from the forest. He comes inside the house and finds that his coffee mug is missing. Meanwhile, his sister is cleaning the house and discovers that he deliberately took down all the pictures of his wife from the wall. When his father comes out with the groceries, he finds the broken plate perfectly intact. Inside the bus, Aber asks her brother Jack about the growling sound, while her friend eavesdrops. After a while, the bus stops because a broken vehicle is parked on the road, spilling blue liquid around it. Aber finally notices flying crayons, the colors used to color drawings. Just then, a terrifying growl comes from the side. Then, first a blue foot emerges from near the bus, then another, and then, gradually, a long, blue monster created by Aber emerges. It makes strange noises. So the driver immediately accelerates. The creature starts chasing them. So, the bus collides with the broken vehicle and veers into the nearby fields. All the students were fine, but they were convinced the driver was dead. Just then, the monster arrived at the back of the bus. All the children hid under the seats. Aber told Jack that the bus horn had woken it up. They needed to put it back to sleep, and music could soothe it. Jack tried to take the driver's phone, but the monster broke into the bus. He grabbed Jack and tried to pull him out. But suddenly, he stumbled and fell asleep because a student with an iPad had turned on music. All the children got off the bus and ran. Just as Jack was about to leave, the music ended, and the next song was too slow. So, the monster immediately woke up again, and everyone started running. At that moment, Dad's car radio picked up some signals from the school, but the message wasn't clearly audible. This message was actually about the monsters. So, he immediately went inside the house and searched for his phone. He found colors scattered on the floor, leading to the closet. When he opens the cupboard, he finds his phone and a coffee mug. Behind the mug is a strange ball. This creature, too, suddenly jumps at Dad. But Dad barely manages to knock it down and kills it by hitting it with a plate. Meanwhile, 4 children run out of the forest. But Aber suddenly stops because they left his annoying friend alone, and Aber had drawn many monsters in his sketches specifically designed to attack his friend. In the forest, his friend encounters a strange yellow and green creature. The boy tries to chase it away. But the creature sprouts several large horns from its head, glowing, and making noises. Just then, a large monster emerges from behind and faces him. It opens its large mouth and attacks, but its attack is completely thwarted. Aber's friend thinks the monster might be blind. But once again, the monster got up, adjusted its angle, and its next attack was in the perfect direction. Before it could strike, its friends came to its rescue. The glowing creature was still there, acting strangely. Jack picked it up and washed the pond, completely destroying it. As soon as this happened, the larger monster also began to leave on its own, as Bird had created them both together. If one was gone, the other was gone. Dad and his sister also reached the scene of the accident. They discovered that the driver and the other children were fine. But Jack, Eber, and his friend were missing. They both thought they might have gone home, so they too set off. The hooded master also reached the pond, where he had all his drawing supplies, and he sat there and started sketching. On the way, Dad told his sister about these monsters, or eiders, as Eber had told him. But his sister obviously found this a little hard to believe. Just then, a cat suddenly appears in front of their car in the middle of the road. Dad stops the car. When he gets out and looks, he sees paint splattered underneath the car. Then, he also sees the cat Aber drew sitting on top of the car. Dad's sister thinks it's a normal cat and is about to touch it, thinking it's a pet. But suddenly, the cat transforms into the form it was drawn in. It spreads out its large, colorful wings and splashes paint on them. Then, quietly, it sits down on the side. Suddenly, it throws the car away with a force and runs off into the forest. The children take out some paint and decide to draw a weapon to fight the monsters. They then draw a strange weapon. Meanwhile, while the siblings are returning home, they get into an argument. Abel's aunt asks him how he's trying to erase their mother's memories. This is why Aber started drawing such creatures. Meanwhile, they spot a large bird perched on the viral post. Both are terrified and immediately run back home. Aber's friend asks her, "Why did you want to kill me? And so much?" Aber reminds her of the time she harassed him. Meanwhile, Jack has redrawn his weapons, and the three gather the necessary supplies to fight the monster. But before leaving, Aber says she needs to go to the bathroom, and her friend follows her, as he also needs to go. Aber goes to her room's bathroom. She locks the door. Her friend repeatedly knocks on her door. Jack tells her to go to the other room. As they enter, the entire room is filled with idols, spider-like creatures crawling on the walls. So, he quietly closes the door. But Jack notices that some idols have stuck to his body. Jack immediately rushes in, smashing it against the wall and floor to kill the eiders. As Amber emerges, an idol flies in from the ceiling. She follows it and falls straight into the room filled with idols. All the agents rush out. Jack picks up a water gun, but Amber's friend had run out. Jack begins to kill as many eiders as he can. Amber manages to get into the bathroom, reaches the tub, and turns on the water, washing the creatures away. But outside, many eiders are still trying to break the door and get in. Jack considers breaking a window and escaping. Just then, Amber's friend returns and starts killing them one by one with the water tap. The three of them come out, kill the eiders one by one, and sit in a corner, taking a sigh of relief. Meanwhile, Dad and his sister come back into the house. Red paint is everywhere. But by then, the children have already left for the forest. Suddenly, Aber collapses and begins to cry. Jack repeatedly tells her to get up. Aber angrily replies, "You're always bothering me." Aber's aunt calls the police and again mentions Aber's mother. She says that Aber is right, hiding his true emotions instead of revealing them in the form of these monster creatures. Just then, they hear a tapping sound on the window. When they check, they see the butterfly they drew flapping its wings. It flies away, and they decide to chase it. Jack finds a lot of his home's painted items in the woods, all of which were stolen by the eiders. These are the items that disappeared. All of them were kept near a sweet painting, one that Aber drew as a child. There, Jack finds more of Aber's drawings and picks up the sword drawing. Further on, he encounters the hoodie monster, who is still drawing, sitting by the pond. The monster draws another demon and drops it into the pond. Jack decides to throw his weapon drawing into the water as well. But the creature appears, so Jack drops the sketch. The hoodie monster grabs the page and tears it up. Meanwhile, Aber's friend shows off his self-made flamethrower, which shoots fire. They decide to lure the monster away from the pond, and Aber's friend tries to distract him. He's about to attack the monster when suddenly, more monsters with capey sketches come alive, forcing him to flee. He hides inside a tent. When the monster attacks Aber and Jack, Jack fires the flamethrower. But the eiders enter the tent, causing a commotion and alerting the monsters. The large monster pulls the tentacle away. It's about to attack Aber's friend. Just then, Dad and his sister arrive and kill the creature, saving Aber's friend. Jack was holding the monster back while Aber began drawing something that could protect them. But this time, the pen didn't work. The monster overpowered Jack and tried to strangle him with its long tongue. Then, Aber, using her brain, revived her tentacles and fought the monster for a while. But the monster somehow managed to catch her. Then, Jack revived his sword and slashed the monster with a single blow. But the hooded monster, still alive, attacked them again. Then, Aber's friend used his glowing weapon to blow the monster away. Dad arrived as well. They ran towards each other. But suddenly, a dragon attacks Aber. Aber uses its tentacles to tear the dragon to pieces. She hugs her father, and all her beautiful drawings fall into the pond. Once inside, they begin to move and come alive. Now, all the people in town watch as beautiful things float through the sky. Jack stands in front of the pond and decides to drop his mother's ashes into it. His father stops him, saying, "You've been grieving the loss of your mother for so long." The truth is, feeling and enduring grief is very important. It makes a person brave. But Jack broke the box, causing the ashes and bones to fall into the water. When nothing happened, his father hugged him and said, "It's okay, son. Don't worry. Relax. I'm here. I'm your father and mother too." Aber joins them, spreading her tentacles and covering them. We then see a scene some time later where they are back at home and resuming their normal lives. The town slowly returns to normal as if nothing had happened. And with this, the film ends.